Good morning.
Hello.
Hello. Happy almost Valentine's Day.
Yes.
In Dominican Republic, they call it the day of friendship, love and friendship, and I think that's what it is in Spanish in general. And I like
Okay.
that. That's a nice way to position it. And speaking of love and friendship and all things good, this month we are talking about community and relationships. So first of all, welcome to Getting to Unstuck. We are the team at Whole Human Coaching, and we are here every Tuesday. We're talking about teamwork, and in particular, we're talking about us as leaders and how we function in teams, and what are the elements that build healthy teams and help people feel safe and like it's an accountable space. And before we get started, I want to let you know a really exciting announcement that we have. We have our first live workshop, and it's going to be coming up on February 29th. I think that makes it especially lucky and poignant because it's on a leap year. So it's at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So we'll let you do all those calculations, but you'll be able to find the information on our site today about how you can sign up. It's 90 minutes and it's interactive. This time it's free, and we invite you. Spaces are limited. We are literally limiting spaces. So if you think that that's something that you would like to be a part of, we're going to be talking about the art, not just the art of coaching, but that the future is about whole human connection. And Carol, do you want to give a 30-second blurb about what we're going to be talking about during our
Sure.
time?
We're going to take a look at it as what are the tools that you need as a leader in this world of art of in building a business that incorporates the issues of or pillars of communication and connection. So one of the key pieces to that is how to communicate as a leader. So this will be a really quick intro into the world of coaching as a leader, and some of the tools and techniques that you can take right away. We promise by the end of the workshop, you will have a couple of pieces in your pocket that you can use in your next interaction with a human being.
Yeah.
So there will be clearly some real energy around it, and also some opportunity to interact. We're going to do some coaching live in the moment. So
yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So don't forget to keep an eye out for that on February 29th. So today we are talking about because we are talking about community and relationships this month here at Whole Human Coaching. Today we're talking about an element of relationships that is it's foundational, but it's like many things that are foundational in our lives. We don't really think about it until it's been actually broken. So we're talking about breaking the trust barrier. Another way to think about it is breaking the trust boundary. Just to give you some kind of thoughts around that, and we're looking today about how trust is earned or lost, and what are the elements of a relationship that makes it trustworthy, and how do we build more trust? And this is a big one. How do we build more trust with those whom we lead? Because that's really the foundation of leadership, is being able to be trustworthy. So to start out, I would love to, first of all, invite us into the conversation to talk about what happens when trust when it isn't there, it hasn't been earned, or almost worse, it's been broken.
Yeah. I think a lot of us have a story around that.
Mhm.
And that's a really interesting way to begin to look at this conversation, is what happens when it's not there. And I think all of us have a situation that we can call upon, which is when we were in a work situation where trust was not present.
Yeah.
Either our leader didn't trust us, or we didn't trust our leader. And both ways can be really, really toxic. So as we consider that, first of all, how do you know that trust isn't there? What have we experienced?
Sorry, dog. The dog is answering the question.
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't know. For me, trust is an enormous. It's an enormous thing, because for me, once it's broken, I'm done. Right? I will walk away, but I'll give all the time in the world in that build up build up space and time. Like I have all the time in the world to get to that space. But when it's broken, I just have to walk away, because to me,
Mhm.
very foundation of absolutely everything you do. And for me, there's a duality to it as well. Like if trust is broken and I continue to contribute to the situation or the work environment or whatever,
Mhm.
I think I'm depleting my resources and my energy and my
Oh, yeah.
integrity, you know?
Mhm.
Mhm.
So for me, it's not so much, oh, I don't trust you, I don't want to work with you, but it's like, what does that mean inside of us?
Mhm.
If trust is broken, and you can't, I think for me, it's intuitive and you can feel it in your gut and your heart and your
Mm.
soul. It's a physical thing.
Mhm.
What I
But
hear, Colin, is you
know?
stepped in with trust to begin with. So you
Yes.
enter a workplace or a relationship
Mhm.
or a connection being trusting.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
start there.
Mhm.
And again, I think it's so important, the trusting your intuition, trusting your
Mm.
body, there's that great book, what's it called? Blink, right? That
Mhm.
in the blink of an eye, your body absolutely knows. Now,
Yeah.
your logical side might go in and say, "Oh no, I have to keep going. I have to work. I'm going to trust this person. They're not pulling wool over my eyes, et cetera, et cetera." So I think my sort of advice around trust would be, listen to that body.
Mm.
Listen, feel the body temperature, right?
Mm.
When things are off, when trust is
Mhm.
being broken or being breached, I think you can feel it in your body, in your temperature, in
Mm.
your hands. And I think, one of the messages that I think we're sort of conveying with this podcast is, trust yourself, listen to yourself, you're right, get out of your head and into your heart,
Mhm.
and if trust is being breached, then I think we need to ask ourselves, how much is it costing me in
Mm.
terms of my energy and my fuel, right? Because I think um, I think if there's a gap between who you really are and the meaningful work that you want to do, and working in some kind of trust broken environment,
Mhm.
that gap is costing you every day.
Yeah.
We
Mhm.
might not know it. We might not be able to measure it, but the
There's an
symptoms
emotional
will come
tax
out,
on it. Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Right,
totally.
Crystal?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally.
Mhm.
I think earlier, Carol, you used the word toxic. And I
Mm.
think that's like, if we think about when trust has been broken, or if we're in a relationship that is untrusting,
Mhm.
and that toxic would be a word that we would use to describe that. But if something is toxic, it only causes harm.
Yeah.
Right? Like something toxic can only reproduce toxicity over and over again. And so I think about, in particular, as when I was leading the nonprofit many years ago, we had a situation happen where trust was broken at a high level in the
Mm.
organization, and it was people who trust that were given, they betrayed that trust. And
Mm.
when I think about looking back, how different in that situation is, oh,
Is
I lost both
I
of you, or if
I
that's just
Well,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think
me.
I think we lost you a little bit, but we're here.
Yeah,
We
you're
trust that you will
wobbling a
come
little.
back.
Oh. Sure, if you're still there or not, anybody can hear,
Yeah, we can hear you, but you, I don't
just in
think, can
case.
hear us. So we've got a little trust breaking with our internet here. I want to just while Crystal's sorting it out, I wonder. I want to challenge that. I think that. Oh, I wonder, can we message Crystal? Let her
I
know that
just I
you're
just
wobbling.
messaged Crystal to
Okay.
let her know.
I'm. I would like to challenge that. I
Mm,
believe that trust is a two-way street. I believe that trust, that we can be trusting
Mm,
of someone
yep.
without necessarily having a lot of evidence, which is what I was saying, Colin, that you walk in to a
Yeah.
situation being trusting.
Yes.
And I think that we grant trust, not that trust is earned.
Oh, that's an interesting way. So let's say I walk into an environment, and some of the environments that I've worked in the
Mhm.
last 10 or 15 years. So I walk into an environment, I say, I want to try to understand. I say, okay, I'm going to assume trust and
Mm,
allow it and grant it.
mhm.
But are you saying that that we also, what do we do? We also allow it, or we.
I think so. So, I mean, we can go back to human relationships here and take a look at it, because a marriage is a perfect example of this.
Sure.
When something happens in a marriage, and typically it's something like an affair, it's something that is trust
Yeah.
breaking,
Yeah.
there is an opportunity to move through that. There is an
Mm,
opportunity in a relationship to rebuild something, but it has to be
yes.
two ways. So if we apply this to the workplace,
Yep.
and I know I was hoping to get Crystal's story in here, but there's a place where trust is broken, something has
Hmm.
happened. And a leader, the possibility is for a leader to come in and say, this has been a very difficult situation. We're going to rebuild.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that I think can happen. You're
Yes.
right.
You're back.
Hi, Crystal. Welcome back.
Hi, sorry, I lost my power there for a flicker for a hot minute.
It's all right. Um, we're just diving into the two-way back and forth nature of trust.
Mhm.
Mm,
And maybe
yeah.
we can go back to your example, because I think that's where you were going to go.
Mhm.
Um, so
When
so
trust was broken.
Yeah,
yeah.
so when trust was broken, I just kept talking there for a minute because I didn't know if you had lost me or not. But when trust was broken, I was seeing it from, I was adjacent to it, right? So I was part of the leadership that was there, and the person that the trust had been broken with, um, I remember advocating for them and stepping in. And in hindsight, I'm like, I wonder, probably something that I wished I could have done or I would have done was I would have asked them what would have helped them feel safe, or was what
Mhm.
did they need? And instead, I just assumed I knew what they needed. I assumed
Mhm.
that they needed me to, like, to kind of protect them and to have their back, and which is true, but it was centered on what I thought they needed, not centered on them.
Right.
And as a leader, I think that one of the ways that builds, and forgive me if I'm taking this on a little bit of a
Hmm.
jaunt here, but
No,
as a
go
leader,
for it.
one of the ways that builds trust for people is if we can remember that it does have to be about, we want to always make it about ourselves. We think that how we feel is the only way, or that we're the baseline for
Mm.
the emotions, right?
Mhm.
As leaders, and that's not true. Not necessarily true. I may
Right.
have similar things, or sometimes even if we see, if something happens, it can trigger or tip off something in us that reminds us of a situation that happened to us, and we can assume that the same thing is repeating itself. Like, we can just get caught in all kinds of narratives. And I think
Right.
the opportunity in the world of trust is to think about, how can I show up as a whole in and of myself? How can I be courageous in this moment to choose the path that is going to give people reasons over and over again to trust me and trust that
Mm.
I'm a safe place?
Yes.
That's really interesting, Crystal. You made me think of just like myself, right? And my sort of approach or tack on trust. And um, I think my relationship with trust is still connected to things from my past
Mhm.
Mm.
that
Yeah.
that and I think I think it's a good reminder for everybody to think about the how and the why and the where and the what they are reacting to in that
Yeah.
instance, right?
Right.
Where is my origin story coming right?
Mhm.
And like
Mhm.
you were sort of trying to save that person, right? In
Yeah.
that past example,
Yeah.
you know, and that probably came from you though, from something inside of
Totally.
you saying, I can fix this,
I
right?
can fix this.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so there's something interesting here about pulling away from ourselves, our
Yeah.
Yes.
self,
Mhm.
and to try and be as uh, clean. Well, clean is what you're. The clean is clear. Clear is clean.
Clear
Clean is
signs. Yeah.
kind.
Mhm.
Sorry,
Yeah.
but that idea of removing yourself away from your
Mhm.
ego, away from your reactivity, away from your things,
Yeah.
right? I think that's
And
important that you brought up.
Mhm.
the piece is the flip side of trust is vulnerability.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Because if we trust someone, we are making ourselves vulnerable. And
Yeah.
yet, what a horrible world it would be if we all kept doing this because we
Yeah.
weren't going to
Right.
let anyone in.
Mm.
So, our degree to which we are willing to be vulnerable in any situation in the workplace, as we're examining it, is really reflective of how much we are trusting of ourselves. So, how willing are we to be vulnerable? Well, I'm willing to be pretty vulnerable because I'm pretty confident that I'm worthy, that I
Yeah.
have
Right.
value.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I'm willing to risk a little bit more because it isn't going to splash on me.
Yeah.
And so when we look at leaders, as leaders, we need to be able to look at the whole group of people who are in front of us and realize that most of them are going to be like you, Colin. They're going to walk in trusting,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that we have the responsibility, the accountability to
Yeah.
Mhm.
maintain that and to step in or not step in or to create the space for there to be a vulnerable interaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
'Cause
going
I
to
think
break trust. That's
yeah.
what we do.
Yeah. And in order for trust there to be a trusting environment, and when I look back now and I think about the literal toxic situation that was there, um, trust is broken down when there's not confidence. So it's almost
Mm.
like the opposite of trust is confidence, I would say. But confidence in a way where I'm confident enough in who I am that I
Right.
don't I whoever you decide to be is not going to affect who I am. So I'm confident
Mm.
enough in that space, and I'm confident enough to lead and to make the that I don't need to center myself in this situation.
Mhm.
That's a big if you are at the place where you recognize that you don't need to center yourself in it or center your feelings or center your perspective, that you can actually make space for the other person or whoever else is involved in that,
Mm.
that's a trust builder that is maybe hard for people to be able to quantify in the beginning, but
Mhm.
is becomes an intrinsic part of a foundation of a great relationship.
Mhm. So
Yeah.
there's courage.
Yeah,
That's the courage
totally.
of a leader to
Mhm.
address situations, to be willing to be vulnerable, to be able to look at the people that they lead and say, what's the litmus test? How do you know?
Mhm.
Am I being trustworthy?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that confidence is a derivative of addressing those small t traumas that each
Yeah.
leader might
Mhm.
have, right? So make sure that you're not bringing your small t trauma and junk, right, to the table
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
that'll
Yeah.
cloud or diminish that confidence, you know?
Yeah.
Ooh, I love how this is going because then what that leader needs, and any of us as leaders, we need is someone who is our trusted advisor.
Yeah. Totally.
Someone who's gonna tell us the truth about how we are
Mhm.
being.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Because if it's like there's an old biblical proverb that says, the wounds of a friend can be trusted. And so in what it's referring to, it's from, I think it's from the book of Proverbs, actually. What it's referring to is that exact thing, that it's not a wound like a to hurt you wound, but if someone has to tell you something that's truth, and the truth can hurt sometimes, right?
Mm,
So if someone has to tell you something that's truthful, but it's a trusted relationship, then that truth, you can trust the truth of
Mm,
it if it's from a place
yeah.
of
mm.
of a relationship that you have confidence in.
So
And you'll
this is
heal.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, you'll heal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So this
Yeah.
is a challenge I wanna leave our listeners with today. as leaders, who is it that tells you the truth?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah. That is a
Mhm.
great question. Yeah. Even as you
Maybe we
asked it,
maybe
I'm
we
like,
talk about that on maybe we should answer that ourselves on Tuesday. And that's because that's really interesting. Good question.
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for this conversation.
Mm.
If you are wondering more about how we work and the type of people that we work with, you can find us over at wholehumancoaching.com. And while you're over there, don't forget that we have our Whole Human Wheel of Life assessment, and it will take you about 2 minutes. And it's a fantastic opportunity to get a bit of perspective on the different elements of who you are and give you some direction on areas that not to judge yourself on, but areas that that life is inviting you to focus on and to build and grow. And until the next time, if you've liked this episode, please share it, and don't forget to leave us a comment. And if you have topics that you would like us to talk about, we love to hear from you, and we'd love to speak to the things that matter to you. That's why we're doing what we're doing. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, everybody.
And thanks for such a
I
great
feel like we
conversation.
could have kept talking.
Oh yeah, totally.
There's
Yeah,
more to say.
yeah, exactly.
All right.
Thank
Have
you
a
for
great
joining us.
weekend. Or no, week. It's Tuesday. Oh my God. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.